Hello students and welcome to this presentation. You asked for this pre-romantic poetry. We're going to talk about Thomas Gray and his Elegy written in a country churchyard. Here we go. Now, to begin, I shall disappear and show you the slides. Okay, this is 18th century pre-romantic poetry. It's pre-romantic because it's halfway. Like neoclassical poetry, it has a polished expression of ideas and uses balanced phrases and sophisticated vocabulary. This is what Wordsworth would call poetic diction. Okay, there is intention in looking for elevated language. Like romantic poetry, it has a new focus on nature and the life of common folk, and an expression of heightened feelings. Feelings are one of the new things. Thomas Gray, he was born in 1716, died in 1771. He was only one of 12 children to survive infancy. We got lucky there. Suffered from convulsions as a child. He was not a healthy child. His literary output was small because he wrote very slowly. It took about 7 years for him to write Elegy. He was striving for perfection, just the exact words. His poems are counted among the finest in the English language. So all of this work and research in looking for the best words actually did pay off, I think. He expresses new romantic yearnings, romantic desires in the formal style of his time. So his romantic intentions still have the style which is that of the Augustan age. The Elegy was written in 1742. It was begun in 1742, published in 1749. It contains some of the best remembered lines in English poetry. I told you about these in class, how they remained in English language. And this is a picture of Stokes Poge, the church and churchyards that probably inspired the poem, Gray's poem. What is an elegy? An elegy is a solemn and formal lyric poem about death. It may mourn, it may remember sadly. To mourn is remember sadly a dead person. It may mourn a particular person or reflect on a serious or tragic theme, such as the passing of youth or beauty. And as I explained, an elegy is usually directed to a subject which is elevated. Okay, I would write an elegy about a famous person, maybe a famous leader, a famous musician, a famous artist, an actor. Okay, I want to do that because the intention of the poet is that to be remembered alongside this famous person. If I write an elegy for the death of Gandhi, I will be remembered because I am the author of the elegy which celebrated the death of Gandhi. You will see that Thomas Gray's elegy is not dedicated to a famous or important person. This poem uses a graveyard at twilight. Twilight is not just a film about vampires, it is the moment of day before night when the sun is going down. It uses a graveyard at twilight to meditate on the lives of the ordinary people interred there. The lives of the ordinary people who are put into the ground, interred there in that graveyard. Gray laments not one particular death, but the obscurity into which death will plunge us all. We are all going to be very still and not breathing and turning kind of green in some time, hopefully a long time, but that is the end, which is the destiny of mankind, and destiny is good to some, but not good to others. The obscurity of death for some arrives only at the end, but for others who are not lucky, is also during their life. The obscurity meaning not being recognized, not being noticed. There is nobility in all people, but that difficult circumstances prevents these talents from being manifested. Okay, that is that other type of obscurity. Okay, these talents, these unspoken heroes and great poets and musicians who never made it to fame are buried in this cemetery, in this graveyard. Gray contrasts the simplicity and virtue of the English farmers of the past with the vain and boastful present. The vain and boastful present meaning the vainglorious, the glory and fashionable people who are always shown publicly to be glamorous and fabulous. We call it razzle dazzle. Razzle dazzle is all the distraction. He contrasts this with the simple, virtuous life of the farmers who did not live under the attention of the media, of the public. And Gray speculates about the potential leaders, poets, and musicians who may have died in obscurity and have been buried here, as I just told you. All life's endeavors, all life's actions, all life's missions, all life's enterprises, positive or negative, are rendered useless by the shadow of the tomb. It all leads to the same place. The poor man or the king finish the same way. The poem ends with an epitaph which sums up the poet's own life and beliefs. The poet writes the epitaph for himself and tells about his simple life and expectations. So it means basically, until one day when I am carried in and buried here too, and here is my epitaph. This is how his poem ends. Okay? And the poet sees himself from outside as narrated by those who saw him sitting under a tree and then not showing up one day and receiving news that he had died. Okay, that's it. This was the presentation for Thomas Gray. It was both for reading and listening for the pronunciation. I hope you enjoyed it and have a great day. Bye-bye.